Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Welcome if you guys are new. Welcome back to Bookmas. We are over halfway through Bookmas and that is absolutely crazy to me. I feel like it's such a big thing to do Bookmas and then once it starts happening, it just goes by so quickly. Everything is gone within a second. It makes me sad, honestly. I'm like, I want to spend more time with you guys. It is a lot of work, but like it's the best. I love spending so much time with you. We've had a few vlogs, we've had a few kind of upbeat videos. Today I thought we'd have a fun little sit down video. And today we're going to be talking everything Goodreads. Obviously Goodreads is like one of the most popular book platforms to track your reads, to review books, everything like that. We all know that. I do like Goodreads. I get annoyed about how slow it is, to be honest, sometimes. More often than not, I actually use Fable because it's prettier. But today we're going to be focusing on Goodreads. The other day I did this thing where I like looked up the most popular books on Goodreads and I realized there's a whole curated list of the top highest rated books on Goodreads. So I thought it'd be fun. A fun little sit down video to go through all the highest rated books on Goodreads and give my opinion whether I think they deserve that rating, if I would agree with it, just kind of all my thoughts on the top rated books on Goodreads. I feel like because Goodreads is such a big platform as well, it's a really good average because so many people use it. So now this is actually a list of the top 100 books. We're going to be going through, look, I don't actually know how many, maybe the top 20, 30, because it's not like I've read all of the top 30 books. Like I've read, I'd say about 15, 16 of them. I don't know. We haven't quite decided yet. And then at the end of the video, I thought we can also go over the Goodreads Choice Awards and what won, whether I voted for them, whether I didn't vote for them, because I feel like I have so many thoughts on the Goodreads Choice Awards this year because they were a little bit bizarre. I don't know if you guys agree, but I thought like the categories and everything were a little bit strange. So we can deep dive into them as well towards the end. So it's a nice little sit down chatty video talking popular books. I love doing this. I also have a cup of peppermint tea. So we're nice and cozy. Sit down, grab a little snack, grab a little beverage, and we're gonna hang out and chat about books. What's new? Okay, I have my computer down here. So that is what I'm looking at when I look down. Categorizes or the restrictions to this list, because there are a few different types and a lot of like factors go into curating the lists. These are the highest rated books with at least 10,000 ratings. So as we go through, you might see that some have a higher average than others, but I think what puts them below others is because they have less ratings overall, less reviews overall. But that's okay because we're going through just like the most popular books. Also, this is just a really broad list, so it also has like second, third books in series, everything like that. There also is another list that is just purely standalones, but I read so many series that I felt like I can comment on this list a lot more. So obviously it's going to be a little bit different when it's the second book in a series because more people have read that, loved the first one, loved the second one even more, something like that. It does have these contributing factors that make it a little bit subjective, but hey, we're just going up this list, okay? I didn't create the list, Goodreads did. Okay, without further rambling, the first book on the list I feel like we all know is Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the Stormlight archive. Guys, you know what? I might need to get my glasses. This has an average rating of 4.76 with over 477,000 ratings. This is like the top read of Goodreads. It is absolutely crazy. I just cannot believe the second book in a series is the top. It's amazing to me. Personally, this was a 5-star read for me. So I think it's granted. I think this position is earned. I absolutely love this book. So much thought and time went into this book, went into the world. Because you have that foundation built from Way of Kings and then you go into this book, I feel like you can just fully immerse yourself in the story. You know your characters, you love your characters. You can just really follow their journey. And as I said, just be really truly immersed in this incredibly high fantasy world, intricate politics, intricate world building, intricate magic system. Everything about this book was perfect for me. So I think this is a very well-deserved place, and just an almost a 5-star rating from over 400,000 ratings is crazy. Like that is insanely good. We're grabbing my glasses, hang on. I can see a little bit better now. This is a little bit more helpful. Okay, so yeah, I agree with it. I think that is very well deserved. The next book, okay, this initially surprised me, but then I was like, oh, this is the most popular series in the entire world basically, and that is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. So the 7th book in the Harry Potter series. This has an average rating of 4.62 stars with over 4 million ratings. That's crazy. See, I'm not really sure what constitutes this list. Like, I'm not sure. I'm guessing it's just all averaged out. That's insane. I am really surprised that the last book is the highest rated book in the series as well. That's kind of crazy. I won't talk about this one too much because I read this when I was a child. I loved the series when I was young. Literally was the series that made me fall in love with fantasy and reading. Since then, the author has proved that she does not deserve my time and effort. I just don't agree with what she stands for. So anyway, we're gonna move on from that one. Number 3, which I think is quite quite crazy because this book only came out a few years ago, and that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I feel like nobody is surprised to see it on this list, but the fact that it is above ACOTAR is kind of crazy because I feel like ACOTAR is the romantasy series, so the fact that this overtook it is wild to me. This has an average rating of 4.75 with over 3 million ratings. 3,399,000 ratings. That's crazy. I didn't look at the ratings before. If you know me, you probably know my thoughts on this series. I like it, okay? I think it's a fun fantasy romance series. It's not my favorite though. I love the fantasy elements of it. I really like the plot. I like the dragons. I love the dragons. I love the academy setting, but I don't love the romance and I don't love any of the characters. So that really separates it for me. I think I rated it like a 4 stars. So I'm below the average on this one. I still think it's a fun read. I think everyone's going to enjoy it to an extent, but I can't with the chemistry. I can't with the characters. And as the series goes on as well, it makes me like it kind of less. I don't hate this series by any means. It just feels weird when you aren't like obsessed with the series like everyone else is. You feel very out of place. So yeah, this one, I'm gonna say like, I agree with it, I guess. I don't know. I rated it a 4 stars. The other thing to consider is the audience for these are so different. Like obviously Fourth Wing is gonna have an entirely different audience to Brandon Sanderson. The Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, entirely different audience to Fourth Wing. Like it's really hard to compare them. So just take this video as like a fun bookish chat. We're not taking it too seriously here. The fourth one is Crooked Kingdom, Six of Crows 2, the second book in the Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo, and it has an average of the same, but this only has 760,000 ratings. I agree with this. If I agree more, I rated this a 5 stars. Like I remember reading this and it was my first truly emotional book. The first time I had been really, truly connected to our characters. And so this was so crazy. Emotional journey. Like this tore me to pieces in the best way possible. I just love our characters. I love our world. The Grishaverse has my heart. Like it has such a special place in my heart. So personally, I think this is one of the best duologies I have ever read. That's just my opinion though, and I truly think everyone needs to read it. However, I would always suggest reading the Shadow and Bone trilogy before you go into the Six of Crows duology, just because I think it sets up the world and the magic system so much better, gives you background to the Six of Crows. I think it gives you a better reading experience of Six of Crows. So that's my recommendation for you. I do get that question a lot. Those are my thoughts. 5, here we go. We were expecting it. Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas, the second book in Court of Thorns and Roses series. This has an average rating of 4.64 with over 3 million ratings. Semi-agree with. I gave this a 4 stars actually. Again, I kind of feel like I'm the minority in this situation, like in this crowd. I do like the ACOTAR series. I love some of our characters. Like I love Reese, obviously. I can't get used to Sarah J Maas's writing. I feel like she has a very stylized way of writing that just doesn't hook me. It actually makes it really difficult for me to read. I can't be immersed in her books that easily because of her writing. I love the worlds she creates, but I find it a little bit hard. Like it's like I have this separation between the writing and me, and I can't just immerse myself in it. So again, don't hate it by any means. I just think I'm not as obsessed with it as a lot of people are. So yeah, I gave this one a 4 stars. It is my favorite in this series, and I do really want to reread this series to see how my opinions change. Maybe it's not a good idea to reread this series. I don't know. So I read this when I was in high school. I think before, like I only read this because my friends were reading this. I wasn't on booktube or anything like that. And I think I read this at like 15. Oops. Moving on to number 6. Now this gets me immersed in the world. Number 6 is Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien, the third book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. This has an average rating of 4.85 with over 1 million ratings. Like to me, this is the foundation of fantasy. If you like fantasy, especially if you like high fantasy, you need to read Tolkien. I love Tolkien. I love Lord of the Rings. It was the series that got me into high fantasy. Harry Potter was the series that got me into reading and just kind of fantasy. This is what made me fall in love with world building, characters, found family, everything like that. I think it's one that everyone should read, and I know his writing isn't for everyone. Can't, you know, read it super easily, but I just think it's so worth it. Even listening to the audiobooks, I agree with this. I gave this a 5 stars. I love this series with all my heart, and I think it is a masterpiece. Okay, this one made me laugh and made me so happy at the same time. Number 7 is House of Hades by Rick Riordan, which is the 4th book in the Heroes of Olympus series. Guys, this was one of my core series when I was younger. I love Percy Jackson. I loved the Heroes of Olympus series. Unpopular opinion, I liked the Heroes of Olympus more than Percy Jackson. I loved Leo. I loved our characters so much. In saying that, I read this years ago. This has an average rating of 4.57 with over 478,000 ratings. I think that's kind of a crazy amount of ratings for a young, like, YA series. Like, this isn't even a YA series that I feel like a lot of adults would read as well. This is like YA, I think. I love the fact that it's made the list. The top 10 astounds me. I agree with it, I guess. I remember loving the entire series, so I don't know if this was like a standout for me or not. I can't really remember. All blurred together in my mind, honestly. The entire story is like blurred together, so I can't distinguish what happened in which book. I just remember being so immersed in this world. I love a mythology-inspired world, and this was the first one I read about. Rick Riordan is just such a staple author in my childhood. Okay, we were all expecting this one as well. In number 8, we have Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas, the last book in the Throne of Glass series. This has an average rating of 4.71 with over 1 million ratings. If I'm going to agree with any 5-star Sarah J. Maas book, it's this one. I think this was a wonderful ending to the entire series. It was such an epic series to conclude, and I think it was done very well. In this last book, I did love this book, and I remember crying over it, and I remember just being so happy where our characters turned out, how everything turned out. I just remember being so emotional reading this book, and I think it deserves 8th place, honestly. So yeah, I did rate it 5 stars, so I guess I'm above the average. You couldn't have ended that series better, and it did leave like a very strong mark on me, if you know what I mean. You know, when you read a book and you're like, whew, this is going to stick with me. Oh my god, guys, since I looked at this a few weeks ago, it has changed. Not this one, this one's the same. But number 9 is The Nightingale by Christian Hannah. I read this book this year. Kristen Hannah, not Christian Hannah. It has a average rating of 4.64 with over 2 million ratings. That's crazy. I think it deserves this. I think I rated it a 4.5 or a 4.75 from memory, purely because I guessed the twist that I think it has everyone going, oh my gosh. So that did like make the ending a little bit less, for me, if you know what I mean, less of an impact. But the whole book, of course, has such an incredible emotional impact. I have been starting to dip my toes into historical fiction a little bit more, and I think this was a really great place to start my Kristen Hannah journey. I would love to read more of her books. I think she was such an incredible author, and this, as I said, just had incredible characters, broke me to the core. Definitely would recommend, if you were thinking about it, just be prepared for emotional damage, because it's a really sensitive book. There are some, like, we're talking about World War II, some really hard topics to read about, but I do think they're important topics to read about. I think it's a book that I would say is a staple. Like, I recommend everyone reading this book, so I'm glad it made the top 10. What has changed is, previously, Know My Name by Chanel Miller used to be number 10, but now it's number 11, and number 10 is Lightbringer, which is the 6th book in the Red Rising saga. That has a rating of 4.77 with only 90,000 ratings, so not very much, but I guess it averages out. I haven't read this book. I recently did my like 26 books I want to read in 2026, and I did put the Red Rising series on it. I have read the first book in the Red Rising series, and it just didn't capture me. I purely think it was my mood, so I'm going to reread it, maybe do an audiobook reread of it, and then dive into the rest of the series, because I've just been seeing everyone be so immersed in this series, be so obsessed with this series, so I'm starting to think it's my sign to continue it. Know My Name by Chanel Miller, which is number 11, as I said, has an average rating of 4.68 with over 200,000 ratings. I've heard some incredible things about this book, and I would really like. Actually, you know what? I'm going to add it to my want to read list right now. I do really want to read this book. Apparently, it's just a really emotional book, really important book, covers some crazy topics. So that is added to the want to read list. I do need to go through that list at some point. I just add a bunch of books now and then. I have never heard of this next book, but it is The Complete Mouse. Oh! This is a graphic novel. I think I read something else by this author. Did they write Mouse? I'm gonna fact check it when I'm editing this, but I think I read Mouse by them, and I loved that graphic novel. I actually read it when we were researching that topic in history, and I was really shocked by it. I thought it was a really great, it was a really great way of metaphorically talking about the issue, if that makes sense. So that's interesting. That has an average rating of 4.58 with over 250,000 ratings. Number 13, I also can't comment on, Heartstopper Volume 4. We all know the Heartstopper series. I have not read it yet, purely because like the books are weirdly expensive. Maybe I'll read it on like my iPad or something one day, but yeah, I haven't read Heartstopper yet. Should I read Heartstopper? Should I start my graphic novel journey? Number 14, I can comment on this one, is Will of the Many by James Islington. This has an average rating of 4.6 with over 176,000 ratings. I rated this a 5 stars, no question. I feel like I've talked about this book so much recently, but yeah, one of my favorite reads of the year. Totally deserves that spot. I think it'll keep moving up as more people read it, to be honest. I think it deserves a higher rating, just more ratings rather. It's gaining popularity, especially with the second book coming out. So I think it's gonna move up, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if it just keeps moving up. From 15 onwards, I really can't make much judgment because I haven't read majority of these. So we will not be going over the top 30, but I do want to read a few of them. So I'm gonna run through the ones I want to read. Very interesting, Manacled has actually made it on this list. I just wanted to point that out at number 18, and it has an average rating of 4.63 with over 152,000 ratings. That's quite interesting. I would love to read The Women by Kristen Hanna, as I said, starting my journey of her. This is at number 20 and has an average rating of 4.59 with over 1 million ratings. I've been only hearing good things about this one, honestly. I would love to dive into it. That's pretty much it. I know it's a historical fiction, obviously. Jade Legacy is at number 24 by Fonda Lee with an average rating of 4.62 and over only 43,000 ratings. The Jade City Saga, what is this called? The Greenbone Saga, is on my 26 books to read in 2026. So hopefully I can comment on that one next year. Number 25 I have read. It is Redeeming Six, Boys of Tom and Four by Chloe Walsh, and this has an average rating 4.64 with over 200,000 ratings. Guys, this book is my soul book. I love this book to pieces. Please do not read this series if you're under the age of like 17. It deals with some really, really sensitive topics, especially this book, but it is like one of my soul series. Okay, I think those are all the books we're going to talk about on the top reads of Goodreads. Let me know if you agree with those. I think it's really fun to just go through and see what everyone else thinks, especially beyond my little community. When I think of like a book that I've heard a lot about, it's all in my community. Like it's the people I know, it's you guys, it's the comments, it's everything like that. So it's quite interesting to see like a much broader community commenting on books and rating books and their reviews and everything. Because we're at the end of the year, of course, that means Goodreads Choice Awards as well. We did do a deep dive into all the categories and everything on the podcast before they had actually chosen the winners and just who we wanted to win. If you want to watch that video / listen to it, I will link it below. But since then, the winners have been chosen. So I thought we could go through, talk about the winners of each category and who I voted for, who I wanted to win, who I think should have won. Goodreads Choice Awards is very much a popularity contest, to be honest, because like everyone votes from it. It does depend on how many people have read the book, what books are blowing up on social media that year. It is very much a popularity contest for most genres, only some. I also want to talk about the genres and what classifies books into those genres, because I feel like there was some mix-ups this year, but let's chat about that, shall we? So let's start with fiction. Now, I didn't actually vote in this section because sadly, I did not read any of these books. I did read fiction books this year, guys, I promise. They just weren't new releases. The winner of this category was My Friends by Frederick Backman. From what I've heard, this was well deserved. It had over 160,000 votes. This is on my want to read for the new year. Everyone I've seen read it has absolutely loved it, been emotionally destroyed in the best way possible. I've heard some really, really good things about it. So I think fair enough that that one won. I can't comment on this category, obviously, so we'll go to the next category, which is historical fiction. I didn't think I had read any of these books, but I had read one, and that was the winner. So great for me. I did vote for this one, and it was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Obviously, this is probably one of my top reads of the entire year. I know that so many of you agree. This just was an emotional roller coaster of a book in the best way possible. I think it was everything I could want. I went into this with such little, I always go into a Taylor Jenkins Reid book with some expectations, but for this one particularly, I was like, there is no way this is gonna live up to some of her past books that I've read. Oh my God, it like exceeded my expectations. It exceeded those books. Nobody could have told me that. Nobody could have predicted that in my eyes. This is actually following a NASA astronaut and just kind of following her career, her journey with love, relationship, family dynamics, everything like that. If you haven't read this book, please read it. This had over 250,000 votes. I think the next highest was 90,000 votes, which was Broken Country. There was a clear divide here. This is what I mean by like popularity contest though. The next genre really, really surprised me because the winner was Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. The reason this surprised me is because, I don't know, I thought it was a good thriller. I actually voted for it. What's crazy about this is Holly Jackson has previously just written YA thrillers and mysteries. And in this category, There were some big thriller authors. There were 3 Freda McFadden books, 1 Alice Feeney book, Richard Osman. Like, there were some really big thriller authors, Dan Brown, and she won. So quite crazy for a break into, oh, there's a Lisa Jewell. Like, for a break into this category, this is her first adult thriller. I was really surprised she won. She had over 77,000 votes. And then the runner-up was Freda McFadden, The Tenant, which had 70,000 votes. Okay, the next category I can comment on quite a lot, and that is romance. The one I voted for actually won, and that was Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. It was my favorite Emily Henry book I've ever read, but it was a great read. I think a lot of people not enjoy this book, I think especially if they loved a lot of Emily Henry books. To me, this was similar to like Happy Place. If you like Happy Place, you will like this. But if you're like a more beach read book lovers, funny story kind of gal, you might not love this one as much. I think there's 2 very different vibes to her romances, like actual romance comedic relief vibes to romance, but has a little bit of depth, a bit more of a contemporary fiction. So yeah, I voted for this one. The other ones I had read from this category that made the top 10 was Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Whilst I love Abby, I love Miss Abby, this just wasn't it for me. I didn't love this one as much as her previous books. Deep End by Ellie Hazelwood. I had fun with this. I wouldn't say it was the best romance read though. I just thought it was fun. The Favorites by Lane Fargo. Now, if you know me, you know I loved this book, so you're probably like, why didn't you rate for that one? I just didn't think it was a romance read. I thought this was a contemporary fiction. This is what I mean with the genres. Like, in what world would you vote for the romance in this? You're voting for the story, the emotional journey our characters went on, the character arcs in this. Like, it was a crazy good book, but I wasn't there for the romance. In fact, the romance kind of annoyed me. So I don't know if this fits in the romance category. I think it was kind of robbed because of that. I just think Great Big Beautiful Life had a better romance line than The Favorites. The other one I was kind of tempted to vote for was Rewind It Back by Liz Tomford, which I did not expect. But this is the last book in the Windy City series, and I actually thought the romance in this was so cute, guys. And then I had also read Wild Side, but that one didn't really do it for me. I was kind of happy the Great Big Beautiful Life one. Next category I have read a lot from, I think the most actually, and that is romantasy. This winner surprised me. I was not expecting it, but again, it's a popularity contest at this point. Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros won, which is the 3rd book, obviously, in the Fourth Wing series. Personally, I rated this a 3 stars, so I did not go for this book. I just, again, don't love the romance in it. And if you're talking romantasy, that's a pretty big part. So yeah, whatever, it's fine. This had over 2,900 votes, so that's kind of crazy. Out of this category, I had read a few, as I said. Alchemized was also put in. Again, this one is kind of like an on the line. Personally, I probably would put this in the romantasy category over fantasy because the love story, I wouldn't say it's a romance, but like the love story in this played a really big part. I don't know, this one I found really hard because a lot of these books I didn't read for the romance, I read for the fantasy world, so I kind of found this hard. Mate was also in this category that I had read. To me, this is a paranormal romance. I wouldn't say it's a romantasy. Night in the Moth was quite popular. I was going to vote for this one, but I was like, I read this for the fantasy world. I was obsessed again with the fantasy world in this. I don't know that I read it for the romance. So I ended up going with Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. I just thought the romance in this was just exceeded my expectations. I thought it was wonderful. Loved every single second of it. Made my heart just break in the best way possible. So we went with Wild Reverence, but I had also read Enchantra, Diabound, The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. Quite a few books in this list. All right. Next is fantasy. This one I'd read less than I thought, to be honest. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil 1 by V.E. Schwab. I really want to read this one. I haven't gotten to it yet because I'm working through her backlist, but I've heard great things. Obviously, it won. A lot of people love it. Out of this category, I think, what did I vote for? I voted for The Raven Scholar. Now, I just think this was a great read, to be honest. I just loved it. It's an academy setting. I thought it was a really great balance of plot, action, romance. It has a trials aspect that was really well thought out. And we do have like this sassy kind of animal companion. Yeah, a lot of elements that I loved, and I kind of wanted to vote for the underdog. In this category though, I'd also read Catabasis, which I really enjoyed. Alchemy of Secrets, which I thought was great, but to me it feels like a YA series. I know it's not, but it feels like it. Strength of the Few was in here as well, which is kind of crazy because it only came out like a week before this list was announced. And then I also really want to read Red City. Science fiction I couldn't vote for because I hadn't read any new releases in this category, but The Compound one. The only other categories I can really comment on is, I think, young adult fantasy and sci-fi. Sunrise on the Reaping won this category fair and square, over 300,000 votes. I voted for Sunrise on the Reaping. I thought it was the best in here. This just was like one of my top reads of the entire year. Prequel to The Hunger Games, obviously. Obsessed with it. The other books I'd read in the category was Fearless by Lauren Roberts, Rebel Witch, and Our Infinite Fates. Oh, and The Rose Bargain. The rest of the categories I can't really comment on because like I don't read a lot of horror or anything like that. So I'm just gonna comment on what I can, give my personal opinion on what I can. That is our little Goodreads deep dive video today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you had fun watching. A few more days left of Bookmas, so get excited. I love doing these kind of wrap up videos. We do have one very exciting one coming soon. Yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying Bookmas so far. I'm loving chatting with you guys, especially in the comments every single day. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. If you did though, I love you all so much, and I will see you in my next video.